What's good? It's Wood. I am so excited that they have remade Leigh Wood versus Mauricio Lara. For a minute, because they were supposed to have this in September of last year, September of 2022. And that was one of the fights that I was looking forward to the most on we'll say the last few months of the boxing calendar. That I couldn't wait for that one. I had no idea how that one was going to play out, just given Leigh Wood's heart and him fighting what I consider to be the fight of the year of 2022 in that 12th round knockout. And by knockout, I mean knock him out of the ring. Knockout over Michael Conlan at the hands of Leigh Wood. And then you've got, Mauricio Lara, who's just been an absolute wrecking ball, who wasn't even in the public's radar really until he just ruthlessly knocked out Josh Warrington, giving Josh Warrington his first career loss. Brutal knockout in the beginning of 2021. One of the biggest knockouts of the year and one of the biggest upsets of the year. And so Leigh Wood, who won a share of the WBA title by beating Zhu Can in July of 2021, this was a pretty unexpected upset as well. I mean, Leigh Wood had just 2 fights prior to the fight against Zhu Can out of China. He had lost. Leigh Wood had lost to Jaza Dickens, who I recently saw get dominated more or less by Kid Galahad. So Leigh Wood, nobody really thought that he was just going to be a serious champion in the featherweight division, yet he stops Zhu Can in the 12th round, and he was winning most of that fight. Zhu Can looked like he was walking in mud against Leigh Wood. And Leigh Wood does pack a punch. So with Zhu Can's lack of head movement, Leigh Wood's resilience, Leigh Wood ended up just walking Zhu Can down and was hitting him with all kinds of uppercuts and hooks, power punches galore, right? So that's how he won a share of that WBA belt. But he only had a share of the WBA belt because the super champion in the featherweight division was still Leo Santa Cruz, even though he hadn't participated at featherweight for like 3+ years, but somehow was still holding on to that super version of the WBA featherweight belt. Well, in December, just last month, Leo Santa Cruz finally coughed up the WBA super champion status. And now Leigh Wood is the sole WBA featherweight champion. So this is a title fight between Leigh Wood and Mauricio Lara. I was worried that this fight, once Leigh Wood pulled out of the fight that was scheduled for last September due to a torn bicep, I was very skeptical that they were just going to go right back and remake that fight. I thought we were going to get other permutations of elite or near elite fighter matchups in featherweight. I mean, there's several very good and interesting fighters at featherweight. And you still have some of the old guard like Kiko Martinez. I mean, we just saw Alberto Lopez upset Josh Warrington. So there's a lot going on at featherweight. Plus, you've got the WBC or former WBC champ in Ray Vargas now moving up to 130 to fight for a belt there. So yeah, featherweight division is one of those very interesting, talent-rich divisions who, because of the promotional outlets kind of being their own island, we haven't seen a lot of the best fighting the best. So I don't know. I just saw too many reasons why the fight was not going to be remade. But here we are. And Mauricio Lara, by the way, did take an interim fight before this newly rescheduled matchup versus Leigh Wood. And that fight was just in October. Basically, it was on the heels of Leigh Wood versus Mauricio Lara being canceled. Mauricio Lara ended up fighting Jose San Martin because there were rumors that Mauricio Lara was going to then fight somebody else, another elite fighter. But instead, he kind of took a stay busy fight. And now here we are on February 18th. We're finally going to get Leigh Wood versus Mauricio Lara. And every time I start thinking, Mauricio Lara is just going to mow right through him, I'm reminded that Mauricio Lara just 2 fights ago against Emilio Sanchez, where Mauricio Lara scored another devastating knockout. That was another one of those knockout of the year candidates against Emilio Sanchez. Emilio Sanchez, before getting knocked out at the closing bell of the 3rd round, Emilio Sanchez actually hurt Mauricio Lara, and he hurt him to the body. He had Mauricio Lara kind of holding on and falling forward, where it could have been ruled a knockdown, but it was ruled a slip. And, Mauricio Lara just looked like he was kind of coming apart a little bit because of the pain that he was experiencing. Well, Leigh Wood is the type of fighter who will test your heart. So just when you think, well, Mauricio Lara packs one of the biggest punches in the featherweight division, he should be able to take Leigh Wood's head off. Well, not so fast. Michael Conlan dropped Leigh Wood very viciously in the first round. Like, it was one of those go low, look low, go high. And it was high with the left hand. Michael Conlan is pretty expert at shooting that long right hand up top. Caught Leigh Wood brilliantly, dropped him, just flattened him on his back in the first round. And that fight was, by the way, in Leigh Wood's hometown of Nottingham, England, as is this upcoming matchup between Leigh Wood and Mauricio Lara. But when I saw Michael Conlan knock Leigh Wood down so viciously in the first round, I'm thinking, oh man, this might be a short night for Leigh Wood and Michael Conlan. But no, it ended up materializing into the fight of the year. And Leigh Wood, even after getting flattened in the first round, got hurt several more times in the first few rounds by Michael Conlan. It's like he couldn't get a read on that left hand for a few rounds. And then he started rallying back in the middle rounds, and it started being just a grueling tit-for-tat type of fight. I mean, I remember Leigh Wood getting hit to the body so badly that he kind of doubled over, and it's almost like he couldn't move, like his legs were stuck on the mat, and he was standing up, but he was just hunched over as Michael Conlan went to town to the body, and he was getting hurt so badly to the body, Leigh Wood, to where he was covering up the body, almost letting Michael Conlan just tee off on his face because he'd rather that than to take a couple more shots to the body. That's how grueling Leigh Wood versus Michael Conlan was. And again, Leigh Wood rallied back, dropped Conlan in the 11th, and then knocked him through the ropes, out of the ring, into his brother's arms in the 12th round. Super dramatic, to where Leigh Wood hushed his hometown crowd's celebration down out of concern for how badly Michael Conlan was knocked out outside of the ring. It's just one of those fights you have to see to believe. So again, anytime I'm starting to think, oh yeah, Mauricio Lara via KO or TKO, I'm like, I can't count Leigh Wood out, man. And yeah, I'm just glad that this fight is being made. But I want to know what some of your early thoughts are on Leigh Wood versus Mauricio Lara. I was so disappointed when this fight was canceled the first time, because then you had I think it was Maxie Hughes versus Kid Galahad elevated to the top, to the main event of that Matchroom card. I just really hope that this fight actually happens this time around. And hats off to Leigh Wood for, making this title defense against somebody who nobody really wants to fight. Like Mauricio Lara, it's very vicious the way that he's knocking these opponents out. Like, he just decimated Josh Warrington, Emilio Sanchez, Jose San Martin. Now, it should also be noted, not only did Emilio Sanchez hurt Mauricio Lara early in their fight before, again, getting knocked out at the end of the third, but Mauricio Lara was just stopped in 2018 in the first round of a 6-rounder against Elliot Chavez. But in fairness, Mauricio Lara is still only 24 years old. So he was a very young fighter when he got stopped. He has 2 losses on his record, and then he has the 1 draw, which was the rematch against Josh Warrington, where Warrington, notorious for the headbutts, split Mauricio Lara's eye over his eye. With the headbutt, they ended up stopping the fight after the 2nd round. But a lot of people thought that Mauricio Lara was going to get another stoppage over Josh Warrington. I just really wanted to see how that fight was going to play out, but it almost feels like that one should not have been ruled a draw. I feel like a draw implies that the 2 guys fought to a draw. I feel like because this was stopped due to the head clash at the end of the 2nd round, that draw should probably be turned into a no contest, but maybe there's some rule that I'm not picking up on here. Let me know if you know any better. But yeah, Mauricio Lara, people generally do not want to fight this guy. And man, I would love to see Lara versus, I don't know, Mark Magsayo. I would have loved to have seen Lara against Ray Vargas. But again, because of the promotional entities being where they are, we're just not getting a lot of that. I mean, even on Top Rank, they've got, Isaac Dogbe, Joet Gonzalez. They've got the best now, probably moving up to 130, right? Emmanuel Navarrete, who in the I would say after Gary Russell Jr. started to kind of taper off and with the injury, then lost to Mark Magsayo, in my view, the next best featherweight was Emmanuel Navarrete. But unfortunately, we just didn't get Gary Russell Jr. versus Emmanuel Navarrete. But man, I would have loved to have seen Navarrete fight against, Ray Vargas or Mauricio Lara. Could you imagine what Navarrete versus Lara or Navarrete versus Leigh Wood would look like? But yeah, Navarrete is now moving up to 130. He's going to be fighting Liam Wilson for the vacant WBO junior lightweight 130-pound title. That's one of the 2 belts that Shakur Stevenson just relinquished. But yeah, let me know what your early thoughts are on Leigh Wood versus Mauricio Lara. Again, this fight is taking place on February 18th, and it's going to take place at the Motor Point Arena in Leigh Wood's hometown of Nottingham, England. I can't wait for that one. My early gut still says, Leigh Wood is also 34 years old, so consider that, a 34-year-old featherweight. A part of me still says, and is still siding with Mauricio Lara via knockout TKO, maybe later than expected, but I swear, Mauricio Lara just throws absolute bombs, and Leigh Wood does get hit. He gets hit a good amount. He's just looking to kind of outwill you because he himself packs a big punch. So, what happens if Leigh Wood is able to, get through some of, I feel like, I don't know, because even if he gets through like the first couple of rounds of Mauricio Lara's, heavy hands, and dishes out some of his own, I feel like if he doesn't stop Mauricio Lara, maybe with like a body shot or really back Mauricio Lara up, then Mauricio Lara is just going to keep on trying to mow Leigh Wood down and would eventually get the better of him and would just overwhelm him with the activity and the power. But I just have to see it to believe it, because right now, Leigh Wood really impressed me in his last 2 fights. Again, I think that Zhu Can showed terrible head movement and foot speed, but in that Michael Conlan fight, I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Conlan ends up being a belt holder, whether it's at featherweight or maybe the next division up, 130. Michael Conlan, to me, is probably a top 8, maybe top 6 featherweight in the game from a technical standpoint. It's just that Leigh Wood had all the heart in the world and was able to kind of put it all together and gut out. One of the best fights I've seen in recent memory, I swear. This was a great, dramatic win. So, again, I think that I'm leaning Mauricio Lara, but I do have to see it to believe it, and I'm not going to count Leigh Wood out. I will do a proper preview and breakdown and prediction as we near the fight date, but I just wanted to get my excitement out when I read that they had remade Leigh Wood versus Mauricio Lara. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this one in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.